The taxi halted just shy of the gravel driveway I hadn't seen in over 11 months. I stepped out, uniform boots still dusted with Afghan sand, eager to surprise my mom with an early homecoming and sleep in my own bed for the first time in nearly a year. But instead of my white cottage with blue shutters and a porch swing, I faced a dog park, a fenced-in patch where my living room once stood. 3 Labradors chased a tennis ball across what used to be my front yard. A woman in leggings shot me a suspicious glance before scolding her spaniel for sniffing my duffel bag. I thought I'd gotten the address wrong until I spotted it. The oak tree I'd carved my initials into before deploying, still standing, still scarred, still in my yard, except my yard was gone. An HOA sign read Cedar Grove Community Park, sponsored by the Homeowners Association. A plaque below quoted, dedicated to harmony and shared joy. My heart thumped louder than mortar fire. When I asked a passing couple what happened to the house, the man shrugged and said some federal worker hadn't paid taxes, so the HOA repurposed the land. They strolled off with their smoothies, unaware I was that federal worker. Something broke inside minute anger, not sadness, but disbelief laced with exhaustion. I'd dodged bullets, led patrols, and pulled civilians from burning villages, but back home, the enemy wore designer shades and ran neighborhood boards. I spent hours ping-ponging between city offices. Property records claimed I'd lost my land 6 months ago for tax delinquency, despite my military tax exemption filing before deployment. A clerk, confused, pointed me to the HOA and its president, Deborah Whitaker, who was passionate about neighborhood compliance. I found Deborah in the community clubhouse, ruling like a queen with a wine glass. The walls boasted self-awarded plaques and a portrait labeled Founding Visionary. She was berating a teen for stringing patio lights when I approached. I introduced myself as the former owner of 1428 Oak Trail. She blinked as if I'd critiqued her decor, then smirked. Flipping through a file, she said, "That lot was delinquent, transferred to the HOA per protocol." When I mentioned my active duty exemption, she interrupted, "Maybe you should have considered that before joining the military and neglecting your duties." The room went silent. I cited federal law protecting deployed service members from property loss. She offered a lot by the dumpster, saying, "We can work something out, soldier," like it was charity. That night, I checked into a motel, staring at the wall. My body was home, but my soul was still at war, not overseas, but here, dirtier than any combat. The next morning, I called Marcus Vega, a federal cyber investigator and old friend I'd saved from a burning convoy. He dug into databases and uncovered a web of forged signatures, backdated HOA minutes, and land sales tied to Deborah's brother-in-law. The HOA had faked a paper trail to seize my land, assuming I'd never return. Marcus found emails where Deborah mocked me, joking I'd salute and leave if I came back. Rage simmered. A lawsuit could take years, and Deborah had resources. I needed something faster, louder, poetic. I remembered Colonel Hawkins, who'd offered help during my last deployment. When I called, he listened and said, "Send me the GPS coordinates and structures involved. Quiet or dramatic?" I chose dramatic. The plan was set. I didn't want apologies or money. I wanted the HOA to feel their world upended, just as they'd done to me. Over the next week, Marcus built a case file exposing the HOA's fraud. Satellite images showed unpermitted fencing, roads, and a clubhouse built on municipal land. Deborah had illegally expanded her empire, including homes on protected wetlands. Emails revealed her military deterrent policy, calling soldiers unstable homeowners. I pinned her words next to a photo of my old house, its porch rocking Chira gift from my late mom, now likely in a landfill. I met Judge Eleanor Hayes, a former JAG officer, at the courthouse. She reviewed Marcus's evidence-forged documents, images, emails, and said, "Someone's going to jail if this goes public." But she warned a legal win could drag on. When I asked about federal seizure for investigation, she mentioned national security or public service abuse clauses. I left and called Colonel Hawkins. He proposed a military training exercise on disputed land, framed as urban conflict readiness. Within 24 hours, Operation Civic Dawn was approved. My land and HOA-controlled areas became a simulation zone for the 204th Urban Training Battalion. Deborah was clueless as we planned. Marcus mapped fraudulent structures pool, dog park, clubhouse. Military logistics set vehicle routes and landing zones. I spent a final night in the motel, holding a photo of my mom in that rocking chair. The HOA had erased my home, but I was rewriting the story. The operation began at dawn. Humvees rolled into Cedar Grove as residents gaped in pajamas. Tents rose in the park, soldiers staked perimeters, and a Blackhawk circled the dog park. Deborah, in a silk robe with a Queen of the Grove mug, stormed out, stunned. She marched to an officer, who handed her a packet detailing federal land investigation and temporary occupation. Her face reddened as she shouted about sovereignty, but soldiers ignored her. I arrived in an unmarked SUV. Deborah charged at me, hissing, "You're behind this." I nodded. "That land you stole? It's coming back." She claimed HOA protection, but I cited her fraudulent zoning. When she threatened to call the mayor, I noted the mayor and Judge Hayes had approved the operation. Soldiers cordoned off the clubhouse, pool, and garden all on stolen land. Deborah tried locking herself in the clubhouse, but the county provided keys. Her wine fridge now held MREs. Her home, on contested land, became a briefing site. She screamed about rights, but legal clauses silenced her. Residents panicked. Some protested with pizza box signs, others called news outlets. A few challenged the operation but backed down when shown zoning violations. An older couple brought me coffee, admitting they'd resented Deborah's fines for trivialities like unapproved flowers. They shared photos of my old house, offering to testify. Media swarmed by afternoon. Deborah's press conference faltered as cameras caught military tape around her HOA sign. She blamed a government witch hunt, but cracked when asked about bulldozing a veteran's home. Her outburst aired nationally, sparking hashtags like Justice for Harper and End Deborah. A viral image juxtaposed my house with the dog park. Marcus traced more fake land transfers, and Deborah's brother-in-law faced IRS scrutiny. By sunset, a sign declared the area a federal training ground. Deborah's empire was occupied territory. On day 2, Cedar Grove resembled a base. Soldiers marched past residents, drones mapped the land, and the clubhouse became a command post. Deborah's kitchen hosted briefings. I reviewed documents with military and DoD officials, confirming my ownership and the HOA's crimes. Deborah's contractor, now under investigation, tied payments to her account. This was a criminal enterprise masquerading as an HOA. Deborah called an emergency meeting, ranting through a megaphone about military overreach. Most residents watched skeptically. An officer placed a Federal Land Review Board notice on her table, announcing an HOA audit and suspension. Neighbors cheered. Media grilled Deborah, who fumbled excuses. Marcus uncovered a video of her mocking soldiers and bragging about bulldozing my home. I sent it to the press with, "I'm home now." It went viral, fueling calls for her arrest. The military issued eviction notices for 11 homes, including Deborah's, built on fraudulent land. Residents scrambled. Deborah's law firm dropped her. Her brother-in-law and contractor faced charges. By night, I walked my old foundation, cleared by soldiers. The war wasn't over, but the tide had turned. On day 3, military vehicles packed up, leaving change. Residents questioned ownership, free from HOA fear. Deborah, toxic after the video, faced cameras at every turn. Her press conference drowned in chants of "Bring back the house." I focused on rebuilding. Engineers drafted my home's original layout, down to the porch swing. The VA offered funding, and donations poured in. Neighbors brought food and contractors, one apologizing for not resisting Deborah sooner. I said, "It's what you do now that matters." Deborah's home, under review, became a public records center. Files revealed embezzlement and illegal votes. She faced charges: fraud, conspiracy, obstruction. The HOA dissolved, replaced by a voluntary civic group with a Harper Clause protecting military families. I drove the first nail into my new porch frame, the sound a promise of restoration. Weeks later, Deborah fled town, her legacy memes and lawsuits. Cedar Grove healed kids played, yards bloomed freely. I never expected a war at home, fought not with guns, but with truth and patience. They tried to erase my home, but I reclaimed their World War I signature: one soldier, one nail. My house stands again, the porch swing back, the flag high. Neighbors visit, No bylaws, just people. The war is over. I won.